I'll call you up by name, and you can just make your way to the front when it's ready.
Okay.
Yeah, take any seat.
So stand where you are when we're presenting.
For when you are presenting, you'll come up on stage here where I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Welcome, everybody. We are now live to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. Hello, friends from LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. And hello to those, who, of course, who are here in Gather. It's such a pleasure to have you all here. This is the IGA Level 3 Cohort 8 Pitch Night. This is an event we host once or twice a year where student teams that have worked on a game for approximately 4 months come together to show off what they've built and also just pitch their games to receive live feedback from smart industry folks and publishers. Hello, smart industry folks and publishers. Thank you for being here. I am Willem Delmenthal. I'm the headmaster and founder here at the Indie Game Academy. I'm going to jump into our pitch night deck and get us started. So first things first, I'm going to ask that you indulge me for a moment. I'm just going to pretend. You're going to reload? Okay, great. This is a little bit of a lecture that I love to give. We are a little goofy here at the Indie Game Academy, and I've given this lecture a number of times in Level 1, which is our weekend-long boot camp, as well as 2 and 3. This is why I love games. Since the beginning of time, humans have made games for each other to play. Since the first caveman threw a rock at another caveman, and that caveman hit that rock with a stick and accidentally invented the game of baseball, humans have been making, sharing, and playing games with each other. This is the Royal Game of which I recently got absolutely fascinated with. It is a board game. It is the 4th, I believe, oldest game ever found by humans. It is older than chess. It is not as old as Go or checkers. And the only reason we know how to play it is because we happen to find an adorned, beautiful copy of it in an old tomb. And then we happen to find the rules of the game still written down in clay in ancient Babylon. You can still buy this game on Amazon and play it today. And actually, it's pretty awesome. Alongside us, our games have evolved over time, from when William Higginbottom arguably invented the very first video game on a radio oscilloscope, and then would go on to work on the atomic bomb, all the way up to today when Sven Vink released the masterpiece Baldur's Gate 3. We've seen video games change. Games have a phenomenal ability to affect their players, as I think everybody in this room already knows. I have this story I love to tell from Mass Effect 3 when I was watching my younger sister play the game at the age of 14. While playing, they got to this infamous part that I'll try not to spoil, but you probably know what it is if you're an avid Mass Effect 3 player, where 2 characters were in direct conflict as a result of their races hating each other. And because of a series of choices my younger sibling made, both of those characters died. And not only did they die, but one of them committed suicide, and it was my sister's fault. They went upstairs and began bawling their eyes out, and that's about when I realized that video games are phenomenally powerful at affecting their players. I am who I am because of video games, and I know that many of you feel the same way. Legend of Zelda, Chrono Trigger affected me and made me who I am, and eventually made me want to make games. And just like all of you who have your own game that got you into this space, Chrono Trigger is what got me here. I believe that game design is very much the study of human motivation. We all learn how to make fun happen for our players, and that's sort of our primary motivator that we use to compel people to play our games. But we also have all played games that are really not fun, and yet we continue to play despite that. However, that power can absolutely be used for evil. Facebook addiction is a medically recognized term, and it is in no small part because of gamification. So my last prompt to all of you before we begin the night is to remember the immortal words of Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Use your powers for good, make great games. All right, welcome everybody to the Indie Game Academy Level 3 Pitch Night. IGA is an online school. We are a gamified space for people to learn how to make games. We turn students into game devs and game devs into indie studio founders. We do 3 things as well as we can. We focus on interdisciplinary teamwork, we focus on project-based learning, and we focus on keeping it fun and a little silly. Our mission, our goal, our dream is to bring about a new golden age in the game industry where all indie developers, and yes, all, can create their own income just from games. This is the final night of our 8th Level 3 program. In IGA Level 3, students form interdisciplinary teams and build a game from start to finish. Our students go all the way from nothing, just ideation, to launch in about 4 months. This is the pitch night in which all of the Level 3 teams pitch their games. The winning team will earn points towards our coveted House Cup. And this is a chance for students to, of course, practice pitching and self-advocacy. But honestly, more important to me is that this is a celebration of these students and the games that they built. Every time we run an event here at IGA, I ask for 3 core things. So I'm going to ask for 3 things from all of you. And that is to, number 1, let's make it as fun as we can. Let's enjoy the night. Let's have a good time. Number 2, let's celebrate ourselves and each other. And I will now teach you an incredible gather tool. If everybody will hit the F key for me a couple of times, we can celebrate ourselves for a moment. Perfect. I make a lot of jokes that Gather is way more expensive than other video conferencing software, but it has the F key, so it's worth it. And finally, let's be kind and patient with each other, y'all. It is some crazy days, my God. So let's, as much as possible, keep this an open space for all people. All right, video meeting requests. Please keep your mic muted unless you are currently talking. I don't want to have to kick anybody, and we don't want to hear the dogs barking in the background. You're welcome to unmute and jump in. There will be a designated time for judges to ask questions, and then a designated time while the judges are deliberating for the audience to ask questions of the students. So please keep yourself muted, especially during those pitches. And if you are comfortable, please turn on your camera. That helps just make the space a little bit closer and helps us all feel more connected. A Gather tutorial for all of you when you are inside of a screen, like right now. If you don't want to be inside my screen share, you can hit escape to exit it. Then you can click back into it to bring it back to full screen. You can walk around with WASD. You can hold G to ghost through people. You can hit F to cheer, and you can hit Z to dance. The 4 teams tonight will be representing the 4 houses of the Indie Game Academy, including House Rogue, House Warrior, House Ranger, and House Cleric. And the level 3 cohort 8 professors, excuse me, not 7, are as such. We had a bunch of wonderful folks come through and teach us this year, including Victor Blanc, Nikki Silver, Renee Gittins, Buddy Sola, Christina Marie Drake, hi Christina, and GC Chu. And finally, let's meet your judges for the evening before we start pitching. We've got 4 lovely judges here to help us learn and become better game developers. So first and foremost, we have Joe Pierpont, an enterprise program manager at Exola. Joe, do you want to unmute? There's a space in the center, the little purple space you can walk to that'll make sure everybody can hear you if you walk on over to it.
Ooh, okay. I'm getting there.
You can hit escape to get on my full screen, and then you can walk over.
There it is. Okay. Escape.
Yep.
There we go. Okay, got it. I figured it out.
All right. And this is totally fine for this one, but for other judges, that little purple megaphone will work just as well. Step on any of the megaphone spaces, Joe, like this one.
Oh, I went to the wrong spot. Sorry.
Joe has the unfortunate reality of being the first judge.
Yeah, so don't do what I'm doing.
All right. Hello, Joe. Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, guys. I'm Joe Pierpont. I'm the Enterprise Program Manager over at Exola. I work with a lot of our enterprise level partners. That includes our great folks over at Scopely, SciPlay, and I believe, Niantic as well. My day-to-day, I basically am the cat wrangler, so I make sure that all the moving pieces are working the way they should be, and making sure that nothing falls through the cracks. Historically, I came from Epic Games. I was there for over 6 years, and I had involvement with the Mega Grants program for a good long time, as well as working with our enterprise level partners over there as well. Excited to see what you guys have tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Fantastic. All right. Next up, we have Richard Lavignasi. Did I say that right? Junior Business Development Manager at Akupara Games. Do you want to introduce yourself, Richard?
Yes. Hi, everybody. As mentioned, I am the Junior Business Development Manager at Akupara Games. I've been there for about half a year now. I'm essentially the first contact for any time we get pitches from indie developers. I'm the first one to take a look at them and then share them towards the team. We're working on a few that we've had pitched, and we're about to publish some of those ones that I've picked myself. So that's really fun. And I am so excited to hear about your games.
Amazing. Thank you for being here, Richard. And welcome to Akupara. They're like awesome. One of my favorite publishers out there. All right. Next we have 100%. Next we have longtime partner to IGA and friend to IGA, Karina Diaz, representing Mighty Yell. Karina, you want to say hi?
Let's unmute too. Hi, everyone. Yeah, you probably know me from IGA if you've been around here ever. And as Willem said, I was also at another pitch night. So I'm getting pitch some great projects. But don't worry, this is like a totally different level and totally different feeling. I am the marketing director of my IDL. You might know us from games like The Big Con. We're also about to launch Missile Command Delta with Atari and 13 AM games. And we're also about to bring All Systems Dance to early access on August 20th. We're doing a lot. I consult for a lot of indie studios. You can find me anywhere. But yeah, it's pretty cool to be here tonight and to see kind of like the fruits of the cohort labors. I've seen this a few times, and I dare say every time it's like better and better. I just think because, yeah, game developers keep kind of like refining their ill arts and their like crazy skills, things that me as a marketer doesn't fully understand, but can definitely appreciate when it comes to pitching. So yeah, I'm excited to see what y'all bring. Let's do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karina. And last but not least, we have Athena Peters. Athena has also judged in the past. Athena is co-founder and chief executive officer at Rainbow Unicorn Games. Athena, you want to say hi? And Karina, you'll have to step off the space. Got to give it up.
Okay, there we go. I'm on here. Hi. Yep. So I am the CEO of Rainbow Unicorn Games, which is a small startup. I started a couple years back. Our first game we're working on right now is a romance, a Regency-inspired romance life sim game called Romancing Jan. Before that, I worked, the thing I'm most known for is that I worked for several years for Warner Brothers, where I was executive producer on Dungeons and Dragons Online, Lord of the Rings Online, Batman Arkham Underworld, and then Game of Thrones Conquest. And then I also work as a consultant on and off for a number of projects, mainly focusing in product management and project management. So if you need a consultant, hit me up. But otherwise, yes, I have had the opportunity to both teach and judge with IGA, and I love this crew and how amazingly creative and efficient I always see the games come out of here. So yeah, excited.
Amazing. Thank you, Athena. All right. So those are our 4 wonderful judges for tonight. In fact, why don't we get one round of Fs for our judges? Thank you for being your judges. Thank you for giving your time. All right. So throughout the rest of the night and into the evening, the nice thing about Gather is that this castle actually doesn't close. So once we finish the night, you are welcome to wander over to either of the tables on the left or the right-hand side of the screen, the big square tables. There are 2 mysterious objects on both of those tables, and they link to the websites of the judges for the evening. So check them out. Okay, let's talk about the format for tonight and then get started with the pitches. We are just about 5 minutes away now. Tonight's agenda is as such. For the first 15 or so minutes, we had the doors open just to greet and get started. We're now doing the intro and kickoff. For the next hour, we'll be doing pitches. There are 4 pitches to come out of the evening tonight. After those 4 pitches are all done, the judges will have 15 minutes to deliberate and pick the 3 winners from the evening. In addition, audience, y'all will be picking a 4th winner. So there are going to be 4 different winners from tonight in 4 different categories, but I'll tell you about in just a second. From 8:15 to 8:30, we will announce those winners as well as who won the coveted House Cup this go round before doing closing remarks. At that time, we will ask that everybody except students leave the gather, and then students, we will graduate together and close down the cohort. We've got 4 games to come out of tonight. All 4 games have 10 minutes to present, up to 10 minutes. And students, I will be calling out time using the announcements in the bottom right. Once we get down to 2 minutes remain, I will actually unmute and tell you that you have 2 minutes left to make sure you are aware of your time. After that 10 minutes, judges, you will have 5 minutes to ask any clarifying questions. Once again, this is not meant for feedback. This is meant for you to ask if something was missed and you are curious about it. After all teams are done, judges will break out and decide a winner, during which the audience can ask your own questions for about 15 minutes. Our pitch order for tonight, House Rogue actually has 2 reps here this evening, and Cleric unfortunately does not have a rep. So Rogues have double the chances to win the evening. House Rogue will first present Neuroconvergence, followed by House Rangers Island of Lost Things, followed by House Rogues Mimicry, and finally House Warriors Coven Bound. The prize for the evening is 100 House Cup points, which at the current time means the winner of the night's pitch will win this House Cup. There have been 7 House Cups to date, and so far Rangers have won 3 of them, Clerics and Rogues have won 2, and Warriors are still hoping for their very first one. So I am unbiased and impartial, but Warriors, you should win tonight. Try. Do your best. As you can see, the points are standing in a way so that any of the 4 houses could win the evening if they win the pitch. Judging categories. Judges, you should have already seen this over email. We are going to ask you to pick 3 winners in 3 different categories. The first one is viability, which is which game you think could do would do best in the marketplace. This decides the overall winner and the 100 House Cup points. We've got 2 runner-up categories. The most innovative, this gets an honorable mention and some bragging rights, and the best dev story, which gets an honorable mention and some bragging rights. And then audience, I'm going to drop a link right meow to a Google form that you will be filling out. In that form, you will pick your favorite of the 4 pitches, as well as give feedback, if you wish, to the 4 games. This is a chance to get feedback from a wider audience, and the game that gets the most votes for their favorite pitch from this form will win this final honorable mention of the Community Choice Award. All right. If this sounds like fun, you can also join us on Discord. Self-promote just a tiny bit here. I think that's it. It's time for us to begin. That means Jess and Co, whoever is pitching with you, Jess, unless it's just you, come on up, and it's time for us to begin. Jess, I will let you know via timer in the bottom right how much time you've got left. Let's get a big round of Fs for Jess.
I'm at 5 minutes. I'm not nervous about going over. There we go. Just the announcement. I tried so hard to figure out how to get our background music going this whole time, and I'm not the audio person. So I have a little clip at the end to give you a taste of it because I think it's one of my favorite parts of the game. But let me get you a deck while we're at it. We all good?
Looks good.
Cool. Awesome. So hi, I am Jessica Floor. I am the founder and creative director of Hexwave, and this is our game Neuroconvergence, a puzzle narrative game where every connection matters. So Neuroconvergence is a real-time puzzle strategy game that's built for mobile, PC, and web. We did our 1-week demo and won 3rd place and $3,000 in the IGA Unlikely Collaborators Game Jam, and it was a select winner at the Sacramento Developers Collective Showcase. Our brain puzzles are built with simple mechanics that are infinitely able to be rearranged so we can create new satisfying challenges for the players. In Neuroconvergence, you guide self-propelled thoughts into matching pods while avoiding vortices by moving connectors, blockers, and stimuli. So if you look at the bottom example, the thoughts move freely around the brain as soon as the puzzle starts. Then the player is able to click and drag the different pieces to help navigate those thoughts towards the matching blue pod. One of our modes is story mode, and in this mode, we tell the story of a pair of characters that are navigating a crucial conversation. The player moves back and forth between the brains of each character, completing puzzle levels. And as they complete those puzzle levels, they receive positive affirmations that the player may be saying, or the character may be saying to themselves, that the player could also recite to themselves. And they watch the outside story layer unfold. When building our game demo, we used Lemmings as our core gameplay inspiration. We took the basic concept of that game, but then put it a layer of art that used a more minimal graphic art style, similar to Mini Metro and 2 Dots. And we wanted to bring in more narrative to this game. So we looked at opportunities to use wordless montages, as you've seen in Ori and Pixar movies like Up. Building from there, we made our core gameplay pillars. We started with focusing on thought-driven mechanics. So everything that we use to build a mechanic in the game, we try to get inspired by either the way thoughts are actually processed or ways that we feel when thoughts are being processed. So for instance, one of our mechanic pieces was stimuli, which scatter thoughts and help them unblock themselves when they're stuck in a circle, similar to what an actual stimulant would do to the brain. We want to keep this game approachable for all levels of players. So by keeping that barrier entry low, people who may not consider themselves gamers can come in and play. I did have a story at the last showcase we did, a woman who said, I've never played games. I don't really know how to play games. I was like, try this one. And she sat down and played the entire thing through. It took her a little bit longer, but she loved it and felt like it was accessible to her, even though she was not familiar with playing games. And last, we really want to have impactful visual storytelling using little to no words. This not only makes it easier for localization, but it also kind of brings a bigger lens that the player can then project themselves onto and find their place in the story. So we looked at a whole bunch of other projects that were doing similar things to neuroconvergence. I would consider each of the bottom 3 premium games to be amazing successes. But when looking at lifetime revenue for each of these games, the one that completely superseded the others was 2 Dots, and which that uses a free-to-play model. So when deciding how to do our monetization strategy, we wanted this to be a game that we can continue maintaining for a long time and continue generating revenue from. And so we decided to go to the free-to-play model. The way we monetize this game is we have 2 modes. One's endless mode, where you continually play new puzzles that we generate and move through levels with different scores. In that mode, we would sell in-game currency bundles in exchange for extra turns, lives, or cosmetics. And we'd have an optional ad view alternative for players that didn't have the finances to be able to pay for it. Our other mode would be story mode. We'd give the first story free to each player so they can get a taste of what that mode feels like, and then sell in chapters. So we'd sell each chapter for $2.99. And completing a chapter would unlock cosmetics that you could use in endless mode, so people could showcase that they've completed different stories. As we plan out our development, we are trying to try things quickly with the aim to succeed by playtesting regularly with players and sharing our development process live. We'll do this by streaming our build reviews, internal build reviews out on Twitch, collaborating with players in our Discord, and playtesting there as well. We built our initial demo in 1 week this past February, and we've recently decided to continue development. And this July, so just up next month, it was our main focus of moving everything to mobile. This is initially built for web and PC. So moving into mobile is our first step in that production process. Given that early speed, we feel pretty confident we can get an alpha build in 3 months with a target actual launch of November this year. And since development is focused on mechanics, it allows us to get ahead on story content and release a new story 1 month after our initial launch. Our team has 2 primary members. I'm the producer. I do the 2D art and narrative creation, as well as the marketing. And then Yosip is our engineer and game designer. We plan to keep our contractors at 3, estimating our total cost to launch at about $100,000 with an additional year of development after launch at around $200,000. Our target first-year revenue goal is ambitious, but we're looking to try to make $800,000, which should secure us $200,000 in profit. Our team is extremely motivated to build this game, and because we believe it would really benefit everybody to have this peaceful moment to connect with other people. So each day the world becomes more polarized and full of anxiety and conflict, and we believe neuroconvergence can help calm our minds and discover new paths forward. Thanks so much. You can join our Discord, and I'm Jessica from Hexwave. And because I promised a little bit of music.
Okay, great.
A little post. Oh, ooh.
Big round of Fs, yes, please, and then we can watch your cool music. Big round of Fs.
I don't know if I can. Oh, actually. There you go.
We aren't hearing sound from this. Are we meant to be?
Yeah. Well, that was the whole point, so never mind.
You can try. Sometimes you just have to hit share sound when you hit screen share. You can try one more time.
I just have optimized for video. I don't have a share sound, but I'll try again.
It has to be shared from a web tab as well. Can't be a full screen.
Oh, Arc tab. Okay. The sad thing is I don't see this as an option in my
Okay.
tabs.
As Karina said, the visuals are still interesting if you want to show a little bit of it.
Okay. I'll keep going. Oops. Wait, I just hit play and realized I was not actually playing. Let's try full screening it. Maybe if we full screen and you get this, you'll get something. Yay.
Amazing. It reminds me so much of Lumosity, the graphics and the vibes. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Jess. Judges, you have 5 minutes to ask any clarifying questions. If you'll do me a favor, you can jump up in a time, step on that megaphone square again to ask your questions, and then Jess, take your time to answer them. Any questions from the judges? 5 minutes for questions. Athena?
I'm muted. Okay, there we go. Now I'm not unmuted. What was my question? Oh, yes. So was there any psychological studies or anything that you looked into when developing this game, or determining like some of the stories that you were presenting within it?
So the stories were really more just based on personal things we've either experienced directly or have seen people close to us experience. And because it was initially built in a 1-week jam, we did a quick little bit of online research, but I actually did get connected with a neuroscience professor at UC Davis, who I was planning to contact later this week to talk to more.
That's awesome.
All right, Joe?
I walked right through it. So it seems like you put a lot of sweat and tears into this game. What was the hardest part of building this game so far?
Honestly, so when I built this game, everyone I was working with, it was the first time working with them. We've done a few things since then. We've been playing with some other games and jams. So just kind of learning that initial, like, how to work together. It was honestly way more seamless than other teams I've worked with, which is really great. But I couldn't, like, for instance, access the build on my computer because of some technical things. So like getting all of our softwares to cooperate on the first, in a week to get it delivered was really the hassle for me.
Thanks.
Nice. All right, Karina?
Yeah, I don't know if I missed it or if it just wasn't part of it, but what platforms was this intended for?
Yeah, this is going to be on PC and Mac. We already have a Mac build, but we need to now port to Android and iOS. We want to have it be mobile and PC. Our goal is to have those two sync up so you can play cross-platform, but that we have not established yet. So unknown territory we want to explore.
Great. No, that's going to be my next question. Thanks.
Hi, wonderful pitch. I'm sorry if I missed this as well, but do you have a certain amount of chapters that you plan to release, or is it just kind of endless?
So we want to continue chapters. I want to get ahead. I'm thinking I can do a chapter a month, considering I was able to do all these drawings with writing the style and the gameplay in a week. I'm thinking within like 4 days, because it's a simpler style, we can get a lot done quickly. So I'm testing that out as we get into development, because like I said, most of my work has been done on the main game side. I just have some UI stuff to do. So I'm going to really kind of dive into how quickly we can release content after we launch.
Thank you.
Awesome. I've got a question, actually. So you showed there 200,000 in profit, 800,000 gross. The only expenses I saw, though, totaled like 250K. Where are the other expenses coming from?
Mostly it's to pay us for the time we've put into this. I only working part-time. Yusuf still has a full-time job and just doesn't like sleeping for some reason. But the breakdown of this is like the 3 contracted workers at the bottom are this big orange slice here. Our software costs like Miro, Notion, other things. We're using Godot, so there's no cost there. And then marketing costs to entice streamers to show our content, other listing fees, things like that.
Okay, so that 200,000 that is unaccounted there is paying the contractors. Is that correct?
So it's 100 up to launch. So the next 6 months would take us to about this number. That would feel like it was a recoup. And then once we're live, getting to like the 200,000 would be the next whole year of us developing new content. I don't know. What do you mean by what's missing?
Well, so I may be misunderstanding then. So I'm seeing you put revenue at 800,000 and costs at 300,000, which would.
Oh, where's the money that's gone?
Yes.
Platform.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. All right.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was confused what numbers we're talking about.
Yes. Understood.
Yeah,
Got it.
sadly, the reality of Steam and mobile stores.
Okay, cool. All right. I think that brings us to our 5 minutes, unless we've got one more question from judges. Okay, let's get one big, massive round of Fs for Jess. Thank you so much, Jess. Well done. You did it.
Thank you.
And judges, I am just reminding you to take notes in that doc, just for the sake of it's a lot easier for you to take notes than try to remember later. All right, it is up next. We have House Ranger, Island of Lost Things. I think that's you, Wendy and Haley. All right, you're already up here. Whenever you begin talking, I'll start the timer. Good luck.
Hello.
Hello.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Hello.
Everybody hear her okay?
Yes.
Test me pass. Okay, good night. Welcome, everybody. This is our presentation for Island of Lost Things. I can't believe, honestly, that this is really happening. I'm not going to get emotional like it's already graduation, but our team has been through a lot. And this has been a really great experience, and we're here to tell you about that experience and, of course, about our game.
And before we begin, hi, my name is Haley Current. I am the level designer and one of the gameplay programmers from Island of Lost Things.
Yeah, good call. I am the producer, and I will say student as well, because I learned probably as much as I produced anything throughout this whole thing.
All right.
So here's a little bit on the agenda, because being a producer, I can't help but make a some sort of agenda. So we're going to tell you about us, of course, about our game, because we're a narrative exploration game, which you'll hear about. You'll hear about all that, the business part, our big plan, and our ask of all of you. So first, about us. So bask in the fun that I have creating this graphic. These are the fantastic individuals that had a part in our game, and I can't tell you that this is so awesome to see so many names on here. What our team started out with isn't what you see in front of you, and it's so much more than I could have ever thought. I'm, again, trying not to gush too much. I promised Haley that I wouldn't, but I already have done that. So Island of Lost Things is the result of a truly collaborative effort. Some of us joined through the Indie Game Academy Level 3, and others came aboard independently, bringing their talent and passion to the project. Our team spans narrative design, UX, programming, art, production, and more. And every piece that you'll see today came from this team's combined creativity and effort. So we started off our experience with Yes Chef, a chaotic kitchen game jam full of heart and humor. This was so much fun. If any of you know Invader Zim, yeah, I had a big heart with that game, and so it was about a frog. So definitely check that out. But that's how our team started. And it was a 2-week game jam project, and it basically set the tone for how we would collaborate as a team. Even though, again, many of the members that are on our team now weren't on that team then, it still kind of set that tone of how we collaborated and worked together. In week 3, we shifted into prototyping and concepting for our main game. We truly had some, fun exploring, as I'm sure most, if not everybody here would, be experiencing, with bold ideas. We tested out different mechanics, the fun time of bouncing ideas off. I just was so energized, talking with the team about our different games. By week 4, even though we had chosen a game, we made a major pivot. So we had already been a good couple of weeks into our main game experience and decided, based on some team members having to leave, this wasn't going to be realistic. So we pivoted really fast and chose a new game. Through that stepping back, we looked again, what was realistic and, what made sense for who was on the team at the time, and decided to move in that new direction. So that decision led to what became Island of Lost Things, and we hit the ground running, truly. During this time, our team, again, like I was saying, was definitely evolving. Some people did have to roll off the project, and new folks joined, and many of them within the last couple of weeks even. So kind of a mini game jam within a full game. So, many of you, if not all of you, can appreciate what that means. So huge props to those who are newer to our team. But despite all this chaos, we stayed focused. We're incredibly grateful to everyone who's contributed, past and present. So although we rescoped quickly, we aligned around a shared vision, and we rallied to bring this world to life. So what's next? We're carrying that momentum forward and into the launch and everything that comes after.
So about the game. So Island of Lost Things, a game where you are really reconnecting lost souls with their lives. You do this by a lot of exploration and item collection. These items that they have connect with them and really mean something emotional to them. And through them, you uncover the stories of each of the souls trapped in this Island of Lost Things and new opportunities for life and death. So the player journey is really you explore the island itself, you collect all these treasured memories, and you choose meaningful dialogue interactions. And these interactions will change the outcome of each of the souls you interact with in the game. You play as Eric. He is a young spirit medium, with a ghostly companion called Geisty. And they throughout the story, they return the objects to their original owners. They choose meaningful dialogue interactions, as I just said. And eventually the goal is to release these trapped spirits from the Island of Lost Things, be it to the afterlife or back to the living world. So Geisty, he's your trusty companion and follower in the world. He's the guide to the spirit world that you have. He lives in your backpack, and he gives the player hints on what to do as they are traversing the Island of Lost Things. So our artist, Jonathan, he really did a really great job on all the art that you see here that we put into the game, including the 3D model assets as well. As you can see, it went through a lot of different iterations, but each item in this game has a lot of thought, a lot of intention behind it, and what it means to both the characters and what it should mean to the player going forward. Now, gameplay is focused on just those three. That's the gameplay loop that we just described, which was just you explore the item, you collect the objects, and you just return them to NPCs, and you just learn about the story as you go along.
All right, so here and man, this time goes fast. I forget that every time. So here's about our narrative. We are a narrative exploration game, so it's a huge focus, as you saw with Haley's part. It's again a huge focus. Quiet exploration is probably one of our key themes. We believe games can be emotionally healing, and that quiet exploration can tell powerful tales. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to pew 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 and Borderlands, Halo, Mass Effect, and but every now and then, depending on what game you like, of course, it's just nice just to chill. So we call that quiet exploration. We all experience life, and we'll all experience death. But if given the choice, how would you choose to end your story? The Island of Lost Things explores deep emotional themes as you help three spirits navigate the space between life and death and discover the power of choice. So our game explores the presence of death. We believe the possibility of recovery, explore complex family dynamics, confront past failures, regain autonomy, and chase the truth and consequences of freedom.
So on to the business. We really, 3 games that really inspired our game was Alba, Spiritfarer, and Katamari Damacy. Katamari Damacy for the item collection, Spiritfarer for the exploration. We really wanted our game to have that sort of feeling, like the world is your oyster, basically.
You have 2 minutes left.
As for cost, we wanted to make sure the game stayed accessible to everyone. But we also wanted to, if continuing on development, recoup costs. So we settled on a cost of $2.99 per download.
Okay, real quick for our plan, we'll rock through this as I get caught up. Had fun making another graphic for you all, so enjoy. So our plan, we're here for pitch night. Of course, plan to release on Steam, do some post-release support, which we can talk about in Q&A, reflection and feedback, and of course, a marketing push for fall. Because it'd be the holidays, and by that time, of course, be pushing for wish lists during that time. Hoping for some optional content update. We need to talk about that more as a team. Do a team retrospective, what worked well, what didn't, and then, of course, postmortem would be about a year from now.
So we're really asking for mentorship from you and from the community and our peers as students. We're looking for feedback on our game via playtesting. We're also looking for feedback on how we can further develop our skills. We're also looking for networking opportunities as well. That includes social media support and professional network introductions. So for you, the audience, we're really hoping you help us out when playing our demo and reviewing our game. Our demo is going to be out on itch. It's going to be available on we're trying to build a web build right now, but it's also available on PC, I believe, and Mac.
Yep.
We'll be sharing our social media tags.
Yeah.
I'm not a social media person, okay?
Yeah, yeah. All the socials. So click like and share and subscribe and all that.
Yeah. And then when we plan the research we are planning to launch on Steam, and hopefully you'll wish us when that happens. So here's our socials. You can connect with us, and thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, we do have the web build. Its page happened it happened a long time ago, totally over prepared and all that. So we do have that available, and so we definitely will be sharing that out.
You can drop the link in the chat right now. Let's give a big round of Fs for Island of Lost Souls. Well done, y'all.
Thank you, Haley.
All right. And I will remind everybody here that the 4th judging category, the 4th win, is determined by the audience. So I've dropped a link to the Google form one more time in the chat there. So open that up. You can pick which of the 4 pitches you like the best, and you can leave some feedback if you wish for the 4 different games. That's a good question. I'm going to say yes, you can. I'm going to be generous there. Don't vote for yourself, though. That's my one stipulation. All right, judges, you have 5 minutes to ask clarifying questions. Athena?
Overshot. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what is your expected number of gameplay hours that you're releasing for the $2.99 price point?
I would say anywhere from a half an hour, or less than an hour for sure, of gameplay. The optional content. Initially, we had hoped to have 5 spirits, and we only have 3, so we would have said approximately an hour at 5. So I would say probably approximately about a half an hour.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have any desire to expand the game or any plans to expand the game after this release? Are there going to be any DLC expansions, in-world purchases, anything like that?
So we're gonna really looking to see how pitch night goes and following off from that. Because the team, like I said, I only recently joined the team like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So uh, because the team has just had such a chaotic story getting here, we're trying to see who would be willing to continue development on team and who wouldn't, and to really assess where we are after tonight.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the judges? All right. Let's give one big round of Fs to Wendy and Haley for Island of Lost Souls. Thank you.
Thank you, judges.
I almost forgot my card.
I'm stealing Willem's car.
How could you? All right. Well done. We are cruising right along. We're good on time. Next up, we have House Rogue's second rep with Grayson pitching Mimicry. Grayson, would you like to come up to the stage? And once you start talking, I'll start timing. Go ahead.
Okay, let me go ahead and get this set up. 1 second. All right, you good to go? Can you see that?
Yep. Begin when you want.
Okay. All right. So I want to preface by saying that we're going to be doing something a little different from what you will have seen from the other teams today. What we have is, because of kind of some of the situations that have arisen during the cohort, we're not presenting a playable or visual prototype. So what we kind of have is the concept and premise of our game that we have developed the mechanics and ideas for. And we are excited to at least share that with you and get your feedback on what you have. So with that, I present Mimicry, our take on a reverse dungeon crawler. Inspiration from games like Legend of Zelda and Dungeons and Dragons, where you get to explore a dungeon full of dangerous monsters. Except this time you kind of flip things around. So on the left, we kind of have some examples of what that could look like, where the player is a mimic that goes around, and the goal is to, instead of fight the monster, you're fighting the humans that are coming in. On the right is an example from the game Crawl, which is a kind of dungeon crawler-like thing where you and your friends play as the monsters fighting against one of the other players who is a human. So for Mimicry, it's a top-down 3D reverse dungeon crawler, like I said, where you are playing as a shape-shifting mimic, and you're dealing with your tyrannical deity and the adventurers flooding into your home. You have various forms that you can change into to solve various challenges, like hiding from and fighting enemies, solving puzzles, and exploring the dungeon. I want to take inspiration from games like Kirby, demonstrating that you can take new forms from objects that you find, and then also the concept of eating. We kind of wanted to separate those two out. In Portal, and they're both renowned for their puzzles, Portal is very environmental in how the puzzles are presented, and Baba Is You is very logic-based in challenging the way that you think about the puzzles. So with the advent of the player shape-shifting and changing forms with all these unique encounters, we wanted to really combine environmental and logic-based puzzles with unique challenges and takes on that. For the combat of the game, we wanted it to be stealth-focused because you're a mimic, and the premise of a mimic is you lure enemies to their doom. So by having it where you get this kind of top-down stealth strategy look to things, you can plan out your attacks kind of like how Wild has unique combat encounters where you get to, there's no correct answer to any problem that you're in. So you have a chance to plan things out and then let the dominoes fall really in the correct pattern, the way that you wanted it to. The world of mimicry is just as important to us as the premise. Because you're playing as the monster, we wanted to kind of flip the idea of what feels comforting on its head for a dungeon crawler. The world is kind of supposed to feel backwards and illogical. We wanted to make Lovecraftian horror feel cozy and inviting, constantly towing the line between the player being at ease and on edge. This example in the bottom right is from Hollow Knight, of an area that should be unsettling, but is comfortable and pleasant to look at. We have two of our own pieces of concept art made for mimicry. One on the left showing that you can make something uncanny in the kind of the context that we're going for feel a little bit more inviting, and one at the bottom of like a more deranged mimic showing what happens when you strip away some of those cozy assets and how we can, what the direction is that we can take it in to make it feel more Lovecraftian and disturbing. With mimicry, we want gameplay to come first. We also want there to be a story to invest the player in the world and the characters. The story revolves around you being the sole defender of the dungeon, and you deal with the manipulation of your deity. We wanted to convey a fairly serious theme of the negative impacts of blind faith and what it can do to you, with the silly kind of nature of playing as a monster that eats people. For the people who are most excited about mimicry, we think that's going to be an overlap between people who play Dungeons and Dragons and action strategy video games, primarily men and male identifying individuals in their early 20s to early 30s. We want to be fairly ambitious with the gameplay aspect of things and offer around 15 to 20 hours of gameplay with a price point between $20 and $25. We want to initially release on Steam and then ultimately port to console. Games like Slowmancer, Unliving, Crawl, Undermine, and Children of Morta are all games that we've come across that have kind of similar gameplay or premises with similar budgets and scopes, and similar successes that we'd be trying to emulate. For our roadmap, we think that if we were given the time to focus on this, we could probably get a playable prototype within the next few weeks, and then a proper vertical slice within the next few months. We could be looking at an early alpha release, alpha complete, at about a few more months in, and we want to have a full release of the game probably around 2 years into development, and then we have planned to continue supporting it after the launch with more updates and some content and DLCs. In our team, I am the lead game designer and programmer. My brother Noah is the narrative and level designers. Both of us have experience with animation, and we've both been kind of working on gameplay design for closing in on 10 years now. We have a concept artist, Harris, who has some experience working for projects like Metascapes. And we have our 3D artist who will be able to make some characters and environmental works for us. And then for future roles, we still kind of want to, once we get into development, look for someone to do sound design, music, and VFX for us. At the moment, we're not really looking for much because, again, we don't have the game in really a state that we want it to be moving forward. What we are looking for is just kind of a mentorship and some expertise from publishers who know better than we do in some of the situations like marketing and publishing, and how to actually get the game in a viable state to continue development. We also want to have an open door for further conversation about how this could be developed. And ultimately, we would like to be looking for funding and marketing and publishing help. We have just some socials on our email if you'd like to contact us or stay up to date on any changes that we make going forward with the development. So with that, thank you for your time.
All right, let's give a big round of Fs to Grayson. Well done, Grayson. Well done. All right, judges, do you have any questions for Grayson?
Hi. Awesome pitch, cool idea. I guess something I'm very curious about is, do you have an art style in mind? Is it going to be pixel art or 3D? What are you thinking?
Yes, we do have a style in mind. What we're looking to do is ultimately have a top-down kind of 3D perspective with a stylized approach, because like we said, we're trying to go for cozy Lovecraftian. So in order to keep our budget down with the amount of time it actually takes to produce this, we wanted to go with a pretty simple geometry, almost low poly, and then kind of use hand-painted textures to get the look that we're going for, to make it feel a bit more comfortable while presenting these kind of disturbing, traditionally disturbing images.
Okay, great. I guess one question, you did mention that you would need funding. Do you have any idea of what kind of funding you would need?
Yes, based on kind of what we've been looking at, the people we talked to, we're thinking that it'll be somewhere between, for 2 years of development, $300,000 and $600,000 to get this to happen. And that could at least get us to beta release, and hopefully it could take us to the full launch. But if not, we would at least have our art done by then, which is the biggest expense for us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Athena's going a long way.
I know, I suddenly didn't know how to work my keyboard. Anyway, so yeah, I had a quick question. You mentioned that the game is very like Crawl. How does it differ from Crawl? As I've never played Crawl before, and I'm hearing you describe the game.
Okay.
I would love to know, like, is this just a Crawl again, or how is it differentiated?
So Crawl is what kind of it's like if you mixed Smash Bros with a dungeon crawler. So instead of just coming across enemies in rooms, your friends, the other players, become the monsters that spawn in that room, and they get to upgrade their skills, like how the player as the human upgrades their skills. And we kind of liked the concept of playing as a monster in the dungeon, so we wanted to make that be the premise. But other than that, that's kind of where the similarities end. If that does that kind of answer your question, or is that not quite what you meant?
Yeah, that was just one of those notes of, like, when you compare yourself to another game, you don't want to assume that somebody knows what that game is. You want to be able to say, like, we are like this, but our unique proposition is XYZ. Yep.
Right, of course, yeah.
Any other questions from the judges?
Yeah, I have a quick one. I'm just curious about, because you mentioned that the gameplay is about 20 hours long. I'm not sure if you envision players replaying this over and over again to get better at it. I don't know if the dungeon maps differ or if they're generated in a way where there's some randomness there. But could you speak to that at all?
Yeah, no,
yeah. Yeah. So the level design is not going to be procedurally generated. So we don't plan on having necessarily the most replay value from just exploring different environments like you might get in a procedural dungeon crawler. It's more focused on the narrative progression throughout the different levels of the game.
Gotcha. Cool. Thanks.
All right. Any last questions from the judges? All right. Let's give a big round of Fs to Noah and Grayson. Thanks, y'all. Well done. All right, last but not least, we have Covenbound from House Warrior. Covenbound team, you want to come on up? Whenever you start talking, I'll start timing.
Oh, thank goodness it's going. We're live.
Okay. Oh, okay. We're starting. All right. Hey, everybody. We here at Twindle Games, our team name, are here to talk to you about Covenbound, our 2D survivors-like focused on controlling two characters, a witch and familiar, at the same time. So Twindle Games is a combination of the six of us. We have Pranshu Mishra as the studio lead and head of product and operations, Austin Dove as our game designer and community strategist, Zell Smith as our creative director and narrative designer, Alan Connolly as our gameplay and systems engineer, Rachel Hughes, our concept and 2D artist, and of course, me, Natalie Martin, as our systems and tools engineer. Between the six of us, we have experience in the gaming and tech industries, combining over a decade of software development, live service, community support and maintenance, and development on high-profile games like Wayfinder and Life is Strange Double Exposure. Anyways, Bullet Heaven. It's a genre that has seen a huge explosion thanks to Vampire Survivors, which is why more and more we're just hearing the genre called Survivor likes. Since 2021, we've seen an interesting spread in the genre from high performers like Vampire Survivors, Brotato, Soulstone Survivors, and HoloCure to more interesting takes like Gotcha Fever, Monsters Till Midnight, and Archons. Survivors likes have a cult following with a loyal player base that enjoys their mix of build complexity and power scaling. Frenetic visuals and arcade gameplay go hand in hand with the simple movement scheme. In fact, the combination creates a meditative or trance-like state when it comes to active gameplay. So strangely, Survivors likes, despite being all about slaughter and murder, kind of become cozy. But the current ecosystem isn't perfect. We found that players, including ourselves, have three major issues with the new entries in the genre. First, gameplay can become rather one note, and the comparison between games across the genre becomes linear as a result. Fans of the genre are expressing their disappointment that new entries aren't iterating enough from the popular flagship Vampire Survivors, and underperforming entries go either too far in complexity or ratcheting up the difficulty, or they don't vary on the genre enough. Second, players really care about a great multiplayer experience. If a new game doesn't have multiplayer, that's commonly the first complaint raised. In our playtesting of even the largest titles, we found that online multiplayer doesn't behave consistently to allow for the intended gameplay experience. For example, we had trouble getting Brotato to work on Steam Remote Play, which is the only way to play multiplayer for it. Overall, because these games are designed with a single-player gameplay in mind first, multiplayer is a silent murder spree with no dynamic communication or shared strategizing between the players in any game session. Third, there's a narrow focus on the numbers and build synergy, and less so ways to onboard or introduce new players to the genre. For first-time players, seeing all those stats on all of these abilities can become a blur. How do they know how to interpret their choices in such a breakneck pace? What are the easiest ways to introduce a new player to your game without bloated tutorials or an overwhelming inundation of information? In short, how do we make these cozy murder games cozier and murderier?
I am so glad you asked, Natalie. Let's talk about that a little bit. In Covenbound, our take on a 2D survivors-like, players will control a witch and their bonded familiar as a bonded pair. Each character pair works as a cohesive unit that defines how the player thinks through their gameplay. For example, our first bonded pair is the mushroom witch, Portella, and her familiar, Kelvin the Slug. Portella starts with a mushroom projectile that damages and explodes on contact, while Kelvin leaves behind a trail of slime that damages enemies. Players balance the damage output and positioning through the run as best they can, because thanks to the way their magic works, both witch and familiar have the same health pool. Anything that damages one of them damages both of them. Players will find the familiar aspects of the genre, pun intended, at their disposal. Players can pursue their favorite archetypes, such as full melee or kiting builds, all while uncovering new abilities that require both your witch and familiar's cooperation to utilize effectively, like our Mystic Symbiosis ability here that draws a damaging line between the two characters to affect enemies. When making Covenbound, we've been emphasizing the ways that both characters need to be considered to progress gameplay. The moment-to-moment action centers around the unity and chaos of precise movement, adding a layer of complexity to the auto-shooter style and transforming the perception of space into another resource to be considered. In doing so, we're challenging the players to think creatively to solve their combat strategies. What are the abilities that'll help them the most? How do they need to reckon with the new playstyle from bonded pair to bonded pair? Not only that, but by designing with two entities in mind, translating and applying that gameplay to the multiplayer experience becomes a natural transition, with one player playing as your witch of choice and the second playing their familiar. Add more players and you add even more pairs to affect the battlefield. We're shaping Covenbound for players who are looking for more of a challenge and a more honed multiplayer experience. But it wouldn't be a cozier game without being able to slide that gameplay experience as the player desires. Accessibility options can allow the player to make it so that only the witch is damaged, so they can embrace the joy of having a magical spirit fight with them without needing to worry about them getting hurt. We're pursuing the coziness of Covenbound through our art direction, a stylized 2D with simpler visual elements that can translate beyond the game itself. We're leaning in that direction into a direction that facilitates the expansion of the Covenbound IP into supplemental avenues like merch, plushies, and so on. All elements that embrace the art style and take it further, so fans of Covenbound can find ways to not only show their support, but stay immersed in the world to amp up their internal connection to their play sessions. There's absolutely nothing cozier than when you're murdering countless demons and knowing you look absolutely adorable doing so. Our tie-in of narrative and world building is also a powerful avenue to convey that immersion. As players battle in Covenbound, they'll learn about the desecration of the world of Ishva and the destruction of the covens of old that protected the Five Realms. As players take on the invading demons, they gather power to defeat the demon lords and use their newfound magics to recruit new bonded pairs to rebuild the witch covens that defend the world. Whether players find a bonded pair to call their own or enjoy experimentation across several character choices, each run grants them new insights into the world building of Covenbound while associating their gameplay with specific character choices. We love the idea of asking you who you main in Covenbound. Completing runs will result in players discovering new lore entries, unlocking spells to use in future runs, and, of course, freeing and rescuing more witches and familiars to fight back the invasion.
So we've begun the validation of our ideas through bursts of community contact and public playtesting. We have players engaging into the depth of the tactics of their game, finding their fun in spurts of the cutest murder spree. Outside of the game, we have players making fan art, sharing memes, and even asking more about the backstories of our characters. Our community is representing as cozy murder lovers, and that's the dream, really. So we can't leave them hanging. We're aiming to launch Covenbound on both Steam and itch for $6.99 as an early access release. In particular, we're really aiming to achieve complete Steam Deck compatibility. As part of building up to that release, our marketing and creative endeavors will be looking at avenues through which we can expand the IP's influence. Plush and merch are, of course, critical for our mascot characters. Not only that, but Zell Smith, our creative director and narrative designer, has experience writing for DC Comics, and understanding that market provides us with the unique opportunity to supplement our game with physical and digital comics and other mediums of graphic storytelling. Free comic book day is like a personal dream of mine. That would be so sick. Our product strategy before and after launch is to leverage the power of our IP in this way to support development and create a loop that sustains and fuels the growth of Covenbound.
You have 2 minutes
We've
left.
released our concept demo on it for free. Our roadmap moving forward is targeting 3 key milestones. Our first is an updated demo for a Steam release by the end of Q4 of 2025. In this next iteration, we'll be consolidating our art assets to fully immerse the player in Covenbound while adding more complexity within our first realm, adding new enemies, boss mechanics, and beginning our meta progression system. Moving forward, we're looking for an early access launch in Q2 of 2026. When we launch it, we're looking for multiple bonded pairs where players are able to battle multiple demon lords invading 2 of the realms, as well as our first foray into multiplayer. Early access will be receiving regular content updates until our 1.0 release in 2026, after which DLCs, who knows? We're looking for a publishing partner that's able to support us through development by aiding our marketing and community outreach development. We're also excited about port development, like for the Switch, and any support we can get with periphery, product strategy, and advice, you'll be merged. Our current ask is 100,000 USD, between which we will split with development funding as we work part-time on the game, 10% on a new hire for a dedicated community officer and shipment coordinator, and 30% for marketing, outreach, and event initiatives. We're hoping to create a partnership that lasts at least for the next couple of years. With that, we at Dwindle want to thank you for your time. We appreciate your attention and kindness in considering our team in Covenant Bound. We hope to defend info with you, and as always, praise the slime.
Well done, well done. Big round of Fs for Covenant Bound. Well done, everybody. All right, judges, you have 5 minutes. Any questions for the Covenant Bound team?
It's so touchy. Okay, I'm there. Awesome pitch. But I did have a question regarding different builds. I guess I may have missed it somewhere. Are you getting items and weapons and that sort of thing, or is it more based on the character? So you have different slimes and different witches.
So we're currently looking at kind of a combination of passives, which we're calling buffs, and spells that are being cast by both the familiar and the witch. The spells that you're offered depend on the familiar witch pairing that you have, as well as the level that you're going to be playing in. For example, Portella is Shadow, Nature, and we're playing with Arcane, but we also really like the idea of something more poisony or water-based because mushrooms. And Kelvin is Slime, which is Nature, because slime is found in nature.
Thank you.
Similar question that I had for the team earlier. So about how much gameplay are you expecting will be present at full launch?
At full launch, we're looking for 5 distinct levels that each have their own demon lord and their associated enemies. We're playing with a lot of event-based systems. If you remember, like randomly encountering events in something like Diablo, where all of a sudden you're in the Jar of Souls event. Things like that that begin to break up the procedural patterning of each of the levels. And the idea that ideally, if we're able to see if people like the idea of keeping bonded pairs together or having them separate, really having players mix and match the combinations that they want to run with. We're seeing if someone wants to really go in on the Infonomicon, really get all the spells, all the lore, and everything, we could go for like the tens of hours at the very least.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You may have mentioned this already. Who would you identify as your target market? Is it just Vampire Survivors players? Is there something more specific?
We found that there's an interesting kind of cross section, especially when we were seeing the newly developed survivors like Gotcha Fever is very stylized to be very 2D, like 2D anime art. We saw like Holocure, which is directly based on, I believe, VTuber models and that entire ecosystem. So there is an idea of people enjoying stylized art. There is that also element of stylized art being more in that cozy area. But some games like Vampire Survivors, Soulstone Survivors, very blocky, don't embrace the idea of kind of that art element of it. But people love the complexity, and complexity can be dressed up in any which way. We're hoping that our target market not only serves classic Survivors like fans, but also begins to introduce those that are more interested in a cozy aesthetic to start to try out the genre, because the genre is really deep and it's really fun. So we're hoping to convert players into new fans of the genre.
That's great. Yeah, interesting. The we approach to Vampire Survivors. Any other questions from the judges? All right, everybody. Then I think one last round of Fs. Well done to the Coven Bound team. Good job, everybody. All right. So that means it is now time for judges to deliberate. We have to remind everybody, in fact, I'm going to present and go back for 1 second. To remind everybody, we have now finished the 4 pitches from the night, and it is time for the judges to pick 3 different winners for the evening. We have 3 different categories that judges, you are responsible for picking. The game that you believe is the most viable in the marketplace, the game that you believe represents the highest innovation in gameplay, and the game that you believe represents the best dev story. I'm going to ask that you award these 3 awards to different games, so no game should get 2 awards. The Community Choice Award is also a thing. So everybody who is watching, it is now your turn to vote for which game you want to give the Community Choice Award to. So judges, in the bottom left, there, or more like the middle left, there's a little gateway there. You can see a little brick thing. Y'all can actually walk through there. I'm going to give you 15 total minutes or 14 total minutes until 10 passed to deliberate and pick those 3 winners. I'll bring you over there now for just a second, and then audience, we will have a chance to ask questions of the students during this time while they deliberate.
Found it. Haha.
All right. Do we have all 4 of you in here?
Awesome.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay.
what
So
a weird little secret room.
I know. I'm gonna leave y'all in here so that I can juggle the questions out there. But you have until 10 past to pick the 3 winners. I'm gonna come shout at you when you only have a couple minutes left. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Fair enough.
Whoa. I just had my screen slow down like crazy. All right, so audience, it is now your turn to ask questions of the students and of the 4 games. If you would like to ask a question, make your way to the podium in the middle of the room there with the purple megaphone. Students, you're welcome to ask questions of each other too. These questions might be about the games, might be about the pitches, might be about something else. Does anybody have any questions while the judges deliberate? And once again, I'll poke you one more time. We do need you to pick the Community Choice Award. And so use that link I just dropped in the chat to vote for which game. Any questions? All right, one of the students, tell me about why you picked this game out of the potential prototypes. And this room is small enough that you should just be able to unmute yourself and talk. Why this game out of all potential prototypes?
I needed a place to go after my team fell apart.
Oh, tragic, Haley. I'm glad that you.
Woo!
I'm so glad, Wendy, that you picked up Haley. Thank you for that.
Yes, we're so glad to.
F's in chat for Cleric. We miss you, Cleric. All right, how about Grayson and Noah? Why this game?
Well, the thing is,
For those who are in the back room, you'll need to walk to the center, the area that's kind of lit up, to make sure you can hear us all talking. Oh yeah, Grayson, Noah,
Yeah.
why this game?
thing is, this wasn't actually selected from a pool of prototypes. It was kind of developed back when I knew nothing about game design. It's like the age-old trap was like, oh, this seems like a cool idea, so you start making it, and it was a really bad idea. Strangely enough, as we started developing, you realized, hey, people might actually kind of want this. So we decided to shift gears and redesign it to focus around what makes it unique, rather than just putting a slight variation on things that already existed. It's not really a reason that this was chosen. I wish there was, because then I'd be able to defend it better. But it kind of just happened.
Sometimes, I think one of the things that I ask about a lot on podcasts, or just when I'm on the podcast, or just when I'm talking to other developers, is I try to get the understanding of why they chose what they worked on, because it's such a pivotal part of any game development process. And there are definitely groups and companies out there that are like extremely thoughtful. They have a very thought out formula for what makes them pick any particular game. But a lot of companies also, especially indies, just like decide they think something's cool and then they make it. And that can work too. So yeah, you don't need to defend it. Sounds good. Just a game that fell into your lap. How about Wendy and/or Haley? Why did you work on this game? And if anybody has questions, otherwise I'm just going to keep filling up our time here until the judges are done deliberating. If you have questions, you can walk to the purple square there in the middle to ask your questions live. Yeah, Wendy, why did you pick Island of Lost Souls?
Well, this was thanks to our team having a fantastic idea. Initially, Megan on our team proposed this to us after we went through all our prototypes. So shout out to Megan for that. And then the rest of the team developed that. And huge shout out to Andrea for all her brilliance with programming and all the things. You were instrumental in this. This isn't just a thank you, but this is why I worked on it. Is because of the people that were here, and that we had a narrative designer, and and eventually got to work with two. So shout out to Brittany. So thanks for that. And it was just a fun idea. I'm big into cozy games. Like I said, I try to balance my pew pew time with the cozy games, and I thought, well, pew pew is a little bit out of my reach as a beginner, so cozy exploration it is.
Amazing. Awesome. All right. We have a question from Krethik. Krethik is asking of the Convergence team. And yes, Hamna, I agree. Wendy rules. Convergence team, Jess, how did you do the mapping of dots for achieving the goal? It looks complex in a good way. How long did that take?
I'll start by answering the other question, only because I think it's important to consider, is we chose our game, but both we had a time constraint, which is one thing, but we really tried to think of what are we really strong at, given we're a 2-person team or 3 people, and how can we make the best thing possible with our skill set. So that was pretty much what guided our entire game.
Amazing.
And the jam theme. But as far as the mapping of the dots, I think the question's about how do we get the thoughts to move? What's the logic around the thought movement? The little tiny colored dots, is that what we're referring to?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm not the engineer. I did not program that logic. That part of it was actually done in about 2 days, and we're right now refactoring it to be more predictable for the player. But I believe at every intersection, it chooses one of the optional routes it can go, and then just keeps following the paths in that way. And then the rest of the movement you see is just algorithmic bouncing.
Amazing. So by the way, I'm going to ask all the students, drop links to your games and/or your socials, whatever you want to share. Drop those in the chat. I'll copy them over to the stream as well. I'm going to show this for a hot second because this is actually this is something I kind of love. Many of you or some of you are probably familiar with the concept of Ikigai. It's this cute thing that makes the rounds on social media now and then about choosing a reason for being. And I actually really like it as a demonstration of how to pick which game you work on. Because Jess, you mentioned we worked on this partly because that's the strengths of the team. And I think it's a combination of picking what is financially viable and doing just your business homework. Does this audience exist? Is it possible for us to get eyeballs on this? Is it clickbaity? All of that is very important to think about. But so too is, can my team build this? Do I have the expertise on the team to build this? And what is the expertise on my team that'll result in a great game? And then also in that should just straight up be what are you excited to make? Because on the other end of the development process, you can almost always feel when a dev team is having a great time. So I love how Ikigai suggests this combination of practical reasons for picking your game, as well as more sort of emotional or artistic reasons. That's something I can confidently recommend to all. All right. Jade says, how similar to the original concept is the game you ended up pitching? I'll ask this let's see, Pranshu, since y'all haven't answered a question yet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So funnily enough, the basic functions of our prototype were incredibly similar to the final version of the game. Reason being, our initial pitch for this idea for the prototype was something that Alan really believed in. It was initially just truly twin stick shooter where you used 2 controller sticks to move your 2 characters in a shooting arena. None of us saw the vision. Alan saw the vision and turned it into very much, hey, we'll set it in Survivor's Light, and our control will be a tether that ties between the 2 entities, as well as throwing a football, and the other character is the football. And immediately after that, we realized, oh, moving around, dodging enemies, the synergy is there. You take damage. The framework in the prototype to the actual game, we didn't change all too much. What ended up happening was we started complicating it, adding more details, iterating on top of it, to the point that we have the game we have now. Truly, without Alan advocating for it, we wouldn't have even gotten this far.
That's great. Nice. All right. Jade asks another question. This is just open to the floor. Whichever team feels like answering this. When in your creative process did sound design come in? Did it come naturally to you? At what point did you start adding sound, caring about sound in your game? How about Wendy's team? When did y'all start worrying about sound and implementing sound?
When we got an awesome audio designer.
That's good.
I think we were always thinking about it. Like it was always kind of in the back of our mind, not that it wasn't as important, but just, for who we had on the team, it wasn't, I think the first thing. Anybody on the team can, feel free to chime in. But once we got an audio person, we were super excited, and, it was so nice just to have someone who had that expertise. So then it started to make more sense because they were asking the right questions and helped us. And once they learned about our game, they were also somebody who came in kind of game jam style. So they learned, trial by fire. So they asked the right questions, and then it just went from there.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's a good answer. I think when stuff happens is often when somebody on the team advocates for it. And so having that sound person around to advocate for the sound is good. In my experience, sound is unfortunately often implemented later than it should be. I think that's one of the great reasons to have a composer or sound designer on staff, because then they're more a part of the creative process and you're building together. So instead of being like, well, I'm going to make a sound that fits the design, instead it's let's collaborate on something that works well, including the sound. All right. Wendy, I'm going to have you answer Jade's question again. How similar to the original concept is the game you ended up pitching? And while you answer that, I'm going to go check on the judges and force them to come out here.
Man, this is a.
All right, judges, how we doing?
Good.
Good.
I think we have the three chosen.
Yeah, I think we just finished.
Look at that. Perfect timing.
We all agree on the last one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, it's cute. It
Awesome.
looks like it's fun in here. So we could either do one person announces all three, or you could have one person announce one and have three different people announce. How do you want to do it?
What do you think?
If anyone's keen, you can go ahead and announce them all. I'm not.
Sure. I mean, I will. I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'll do it.
All
no
right.
problem.
So
Yeah.
Richard,
Yeah, Richard.
we'll pull you up on stage then, and we'll just say, and now Richard is going to announce the three winners. All right.
Okay. Let me just chat with my team to confirm.
Yes. Yeah. So once you guys
Give him
have
the envelope.
confirmed, yes.
Yeah.
Once you have
Yes.
confirmed, you can walk back through this little carpet here and make your way back to your seats.
Cool.
All right. The judges have made their decisions. They are making their way out in just a second. Haley is on a go-kart. Are we ready? We've also, this is your last chance to throw votes in for the Audience Choice Award before the judges get back out here. Interesting.
Shout out to the clerics who didn't make it.
I know. Okay. You know what's funny is there's only been one other cohort where we didn't have all four houses represented. And during that cohort as well, that was just because it was a smaller cohort. During that cohort as well, though, the clerics were the only house not repped. So for some reason, the clerics are just kind of cursed. All right.
Well, now you tell me.
All right. Looks like we have our judges. So without further ado, it's time to announce our winners in the three different categories. Once we have those three categories announced by the judges themselves, I will then announce the Audience Choice Award, and then I'll close us down for the evening by telling us which house won the House Cup. So Richard, I believe you're going to come up on stage and tell us the winners for the evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Everybody. Okay. Hi. We just want to say all the pitches today were excellent. So let's start off with most viable. We decided to give it to mimicry. We love the concept, and we're interested to see more.
Wow, amazing! Let's give a big round of Fs to mimicry.
Hey, Grayson! Woo!
Lots of applauses. Cool. Okay, next up. Those whistles are so funny. The most inventive award goes to Covenbound.
Well done, Covenbound. Major F.
Such a cool little feature. Okay. Next up is Best Dev Story, and that's going to go to Neuro Convergence. Congratulations.
Nice. Well done, Neuro. All right, and our last award is the Audience Choice Award. The Audience Choice was voted on by all of y'all, and your favorite pitch of the evening was Covenbound. Well done, Covenbound. One last round of Fs for the Audience Choice. Okay. So that means it is time to wrap up for the evening and say goodbye. So students, you are going to stay in this space. We're going to do our graduation. We're going to do our graduation in one moment. For everybody else, let's start by giving a big round of applause and a big round of thanks to our judges. Richard, Joe, Karina, and Athena, thank you so much for your time. This also means, if I can share my screen here. Let's see. There we go. This also means, in a big upset, that House Rogue is now one of two houses to have won 3 House Cups. House Rogue has taken home cohort number 8's House Cup. Congratulations to the Rogues. Let's get a round of Fs for the Rogues. Well done. And Ari would be very happy. All right. So before we say goodbye, everybody, if you signed up on the Eventbrite, or if you were one of the people in this room, you're going to get one email from us within the next week or so with links to the games as well as to the judges. Yay! And so you can check out the games then. For students, you're going to get within about the next week responses from the judges as well as the audience, so y'all can learn from this pitch night and get a little bit of extra value out of the night. My last prompt to everybody in this room is, y'all, it's been some crazy days. I don't know if you've noticed, both inside the game industry and out. And one of my last prompts to all of you is just to do your best to be kind and good to each other. Stand up for what you believe in, but make this industry and keep this industry a place that is wonderful, inclusive, and kind as best as you possibly can. And in the words of, I don't quite remember, which I'm ashamed to say, from the Indie Game Federation Awards this year at GDC, remember that making games is resistance. By building your art and filling the world with your beliefs, you are committing an act of resistance. So please keep making games. Please keep delivering beautiful and wonderful messages via your games. And please be as good and kind and patient with each other as possible during these crazy days. All right, let's get one big, massive round of Fs to close out the night. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. All right. Well done. Okay, so judges and audience, this is the part where I now ask you to log off from Gather. Thank you for being here. We love you. big rounds of hearts. Students, let's hang out for a little bit longer. Major hearts. Awesome. All right. Great job to everybody again. Nice. All right. I think that means we now have the space. So y'all, you did it. You pitched. How did the expectation meet the reality of the pitch? Was it scarier? Less scary? Are you relieved to have gotten through it? And also to the stream, goodbye. We love you.